Hey, good afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, and I am doing my first day of a 21-day video challenge. So the first topic of conversation, I was either going to do like an A to Z, which I've advised some other people to do, but I thought what I'm going to do is I'm going to start talking about what I'd been up to over the weekend. So being that this weekend I went to Manchester, and I also had to book up flights to Spain and look at travelling to Barcelona when I'm in Spain, and then also when I returned back after spending the 2 whole days in Manchester, I had to then go back into London. So to start off with, how we could have saved some money on our train tickets. Well, I got my train tickets and it was £110. If I had done this probably in advance, it would have saved even more money. However, I was doing it pretty last minute. That still was pretty cheap. I think probably £80-90, which I was trying to charge, and I managed to find various sites where I booked my tickets and my seat in advance, and it is probably at about 40% discount. Whether there is another way you can save money, and this is on Martin Lewis Money Saving Tips websites. You can, for instance, if you're travelling from London to Manchester, if you book from, say, London to Birmingham, and then from Birmingham to Manchester, it's considerably cheaper. I forget what the terminology this is for. I think it's called split faring. But effectively, what you'd be doing is you'd be kind of stepping off the train in Manchester and stepping back on the train to actually access the other ticket. You don't have to do that per se, but effectively that's what you're doing. So you're split faring, and you can save considerably amounts of money doing it that way. Also, using Ubers when you are in a city that is Uber friendly, because they aren't all, but most are. You save considerable amounts of money, and it's probably a third cheaper than using random black cabs or booking local ones. So that's another money saving tip for you. Another way to save money if you're travelling into London is sometimes you don't need a travel card, and because it's quite friendly with contactless and what have you, if you're just going within one zone, it probably costs between £2.50 to £4. So what you could do is effectively just get the ticket from, say, my hometown, which is down in Kent, and we could travel from like Tunbridge or somewhere like that, checking that there's no railway disruptions or any services going on, because then you'd have to get buses, and that's just a pain in the arse, isn't it, quite frankly? So I, for instance, because of that very reason, went straight to Sevenoaks. I got a ticket from Sevenoaks into London, and I was only going about 3 stops on the Northern Line. So it would have cost me £25 for a separate ticket, because I was travelling at peak time. If I had travelled about 5 minutes later than the train I got, it would have been £15, and that's including the travel card. But I just went direct for about £8.50, half an hour journey, and then it was about £2.70, I think, to just put my card on where the Oyster cards would go and get on and off the Northern Line after about 3 or 4 stops. And then I had my ticket, which I'd pre-booked my seat as well. The downfall of this, however, is that you have to use your set train time. If you just use a generic ticket, you can just travel anytime that day and return anytime. Doing it this way, you do have to book your seat, so you have to kind of know what you're doing. So that's Manchester via London and the Underground sorted, and your little travel tips whilst you're there, Ubers and what have you. However, booking flights, I book a lot of flights to Alicante, Murcia, that kind of places in Spain. Traveling when I'm traveling October, it was going to cost me about £45 return flight. If I wanted to get a hostel or an Airbnb, this is going to be considerably more as a separate charge. If I go for something like on eDreams or eTicket, or do package bundles with like lastminute.coms, such compare market kind of different comparison websites, you can actually bunch these together. So for about 70 or 80 pounds, you could get your hostel and your flights together. However, I've gone one cheaper because I used to live out there. I'm going back to home-ish for a roundabout way, going back home, and I'm spending the most of October there. So to go to Alicante, and I booked up as early as I knew I was going to go, and I just basically looked. If you just put a variance and it says plus or minus days, it then allows you to check on something that looks very similar to this. It gets you to check which days, and it basically says 25, 50, 100 on the days. So you can basically just scan up and down your flying out, flying in, and also you can look at different airports. So you could, for instance, if you would get in trains or something and you didn't just have to go to one airport, you could like look at kind of Luton, Stansted. I tend to travel from Gatwick. It tends to be very quick and easy for me. I can get lifts there. I can get a taxi there, which is quite cheap as well. And I've also got friends that live in towns relatively close to it, so I can sometimes drive to somewhere like Crawley or East Grinstead, and then someone will give me a lift, which is absolutely brilliant. So I got my flights going to Alicante from Gatwick for £38. Also, I have it set up that I do it through where I bought my phone in Spain. I've got some apps are actually, everything's costed out in euros. This sometimes works out cheaper for me than if I just go straight onto my laptop or something like that, and then just book straight from it. Works as being a different IP address, I believe, or it basically, because I've used certain apps before on my phone, I get discounts. So that's brilliant. So then I'm looking at if I'm going to fly from Alicante to Barcelona. I can do this one or two ways. I could probably pay maybe £50 to £70 return from Alicante. If I'm going to get the train, and that is really, really easy, and I still have to get to Alicante anyway. If I go to Alicante and get a train, which I've done this once before, it's 5 hours on a train, bit of a ball ache. Whereas if you get the plane, beg your pardon, from Alicante, it's a bit like going to Ibiza. You're sort of up and down, really, really easy. So that might be the best way to do that, and convenience of travel as well. So quite a few different ways to do these kind of trips, which is great. And I enjoy exploring, saving what little bits of money I can, and I believe that what we'll be doing is the group of us that are going to go to Barcelona. We are going to do a group Airbnb, so we could do anything from like a villa up to maybe 10 to 15, 20 of us, and it'll be £300, £400, £500, pounds or euros a night. If we was just to get a apartment and that kind of thing, it's going to be more money per person. So we've got lots of different ways to do it and explore. But there'll be about 200 of us meeting up in Barcelona, and that will be muy bien, fantástico. And I look forward to it. So hope that was handy for you. Hopefully you haven't got too much disruptions of things going bing, 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 as it is my end, as you're getting. But it happens. At least you know it's live and I'm a human being. So that's day one of our video challenge, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.